I wonder how good Calgary's going to be. Do you get in your perch in that division, do you get a sense of where the Flames are?
No, there's a couple of teams where I've gone through and said they could win the division or they could miss the playoffs. They could do both. And Winnipeg is in that category. Pittsburgh is under that umbrella for me. And the Calgary Flames might be the poster team when it comes to could win the division or could miss out entirely. I don't know.
There's a real belief there that Jacob Markstrom will have a better season. Dan Vladar will have a better season. Ryan told us that Dustin Wolf is going to get some playing time in the National Hockey League. So that could be a real strength for the Flames. Actually, you touched on the Jets. How shocked were you on Monday? It wasn't a holiday where you are, but how shocked were you on holiday Monday when you read that Scheifele and Hellebuck had signed long-term deals?
Flattened. And then I couldn't try to get up, and I couldn't get up. And I fell back down and just absorbed it. I wasn't sure they could get either one of them done. And to announce matching contracts was just out of left field, especially the timing of it, going through training camp and none of it leaking out, which is very Kevin Cheveldayoff in the sense of how it's handled. It's vintage, the Winnipeg general manager. But no, I didn't, and I'm not even sure if you were going to pick one or the other, which I would have went with to re-sign if they just got one, but two is just absolutely shocking.
Well, I would have gone with Hellebuck. I think there was a better chance of Connor Hellebuck staying than Mark Scheifele staying. And just as importantly, and this is, it is a kind of a slight at Mark. When you're talking about a change in culture in Winnipeg, Mark Scheifele is so much of the culture that if they're talking about a change, that change had to occur with 55. So the question for me now is, has Mark read the tea leaves? Does he understand his role on this club? There were times last year and in the years that I've been around them and covering them, I thought he was an absolute dink. I don't use that word very often. But I didn't like his attitude. I didn't like his body language. And I hope for his sake and for the sake of the franchise that's changed. But you're gonna have to prove it to me that it's changed.
Can I just jump in there?
Games.
Yeah, I think that there was a switch or a change in the approach by Mark over the last year and a half. And
you do?
I thought he was at the start of last year. I thought I was starting to see the old Mark Scheifele, if I can use that term, and that is something that people that have been around sort of lean on. But I knew Mark at the start of his career, and I'd heard the stories and was around the middle of the team a little bit during the middle, and in interacting with him and watching the team from arm's length, I did see a change and a return to the more humble Mark Scheifele, a more approachable Mark Scheifele, more coachable Mark Scheifele last year. And we saw that in his point production. And the tea leaves is a good terminology in forecasting the future, because everybody could see the end coming for Blake Wheeler, and those two were so close. I do believe that Mark realized that he had to forge his own identity a little bit last year, and saw strides in that area. And I think that this is a sign of a total buy-in. Like the guy could have gone to free agency. There's no reason to stop him from that. And right. he chose Winnipeg, which I think is further affirmation of what I just talked about, that there's been certainly a return to Mark.
Well, I hope so. I hope so for everybody involved. It was rather interesting that And it got brought up yesterday on one of my radio hits in Winnipeg, Daren. Was that, do you think that Mark got the message that he wasn't as valuable as he thought he was because he wasn't listed as one of the top 50 players in the NHL? And when you look at pure unadulterated talent, Mark Scheifele should be in one of the top 50 players in the National Hockey League, and he wasn't. So you wonder if there has been an epiphany of some sorts. He got a good raise. He's going to, in theory, he's going to be a Winnipeg Jet until he's 37 years old. So I would suspect that with what he's done, that he's going to be a Jet for his whole career, and then they're going to raise the 55 to the rafters. I would assume, if he can get back to what he was as a great player. I mean, we know he has the skill, but to me, it was always between the ears that was getting in the way of somebody who thought he was running the team at times rather than the coach or the manager.
Well, I think there was a group there, or a twosome there, that certainly were assumed to be the leaders of that room, or the drivers of that room, and whether it's trying to influence the coach's decision or management's decision, or their teammates' decisions, or how the teammates train, or how the teammates play. There was very much that belief out there. This is a great indication for the Winnipeg Jets that he has moved past that, because Kevin Cheveldayoff and Rick Bowness would not have gone down this path if they could not see a rectifying of that solution, if it was as pronounced as we all assume it was. So that part of it. And you bring up the raise, like it's a raise. It's not a massive raise, but this is a guy that played on a very team friendly contract for his entire career. One of the best deals in the National Hockey League. And I think that stuck him a little bit, because he heard it so often, and it bugged him, because everybody wants to be paid what they perceive.
Yeah, but remember, he didn't get it. I don't think he got a bridge deal. He went from his entry-level deal to this long-term thing.
After a while, you start hearing a team deal. It's great contract. And you're like, I might be underpaid, which on the market he was. And this is a situation where I look at it now, where he came to peace with that, because he could have tried to go out and make back all the money that he thought he missed out on. He didn't do that. He signed, I think, another fair deal.
Well, and I think the other guy signed a fair deal too. I mean, the Connor Hellebuyck deal to me is when you consider the quality goaltender that Hellebuyck can be, that's a pretty good deal for the Winnipeg Jets, don't you think? Yeah,
that deal concerns me more than Scheifele.
It does. I would have said, why is that? Just because of goaltenders' lengths or goaltenders' careers?
He's played a ton of hockey, John, and he's at that age where you've got a couple of years prime. Like, to be fair, there's guys that have played into their late 30s, mid 30s, and continued to excel. But this is the odds don't favor that happening with everybody along the line. And you got 7 more years and 8.5, and I just that one concerns me. I would love to be proven wrong by Connor. There's no sign that he wants to play less or should be playing less because of his body. I think performance-wise, if you want to go deep in the playoffs, you should play less. But it's just the numbers show that it's tough to continue anything close to what he's done into your mid-30s.
I tell you what, I always know when you're serious when you use my first name. I always know it. Well, that's it.
Shaddy.
Usually
I'm sorry, Shaddy.
I was never Shanny. I was never Shanny until I joined you guys at Sportsnet. You and Kiprios and McLean. Hey, Shanny. And then I'm sitting there at dinner with Brendan Shanahan one night, and somebody says, "Hey, Shanny," and I wave and say hello, and he says, "I think he was talking to me." So, And I
I
said,
did-
no, he was actually talking to me, Brendan.
I wish I was there for that.